Hi everybody, thanks a lot to Susan and the Nova team again for inviting me to talk. My talk is called Microbiome-Inspired Green Infrastructure. So this is a concept where it's to promote considerations for the microbes and cryptogams as well, so these things like algae and fungi in landscape architecture, and to basically understand how they affect human health and then how they affect ecosystem functionality. But then one step further in how we can design and restore our environments based using this knowledge. And so one thing I like to say is everything you can see intimately depends on everything you cannot see. And so these two core concepts here, so symbiosis, so all the plants and the animals, etc. that you see are intimately dependent upon these relationships with microorganisms. And microbes have these core functional roles in our ecosystems. And the idea is to then how do we consider this in landscape architecture? And so from a human health perspective, it's thought to be really important to be exposed to lots of different kinds of microbes from an early age in order to train the immune system and provide a sort of robust health in later life. And many of these microbes come from the environment, and there's growing evidence to demonstrate that different microbial exposure routes occur. The transfer of microbes from the environment to humans can occur, and it can change the compositional makeup of the microbiome of the skin, for example. There are associations between microbial biodiversity and exposure and human health, and behaviour, urbanisation, design and restoration affect these phenomena. From the ecosystem functionality side of things, you can see that microbes, from this illustration, that microbes have these core functional roles in many different processes across our ecosystem, from plant and animal health, nutrient cycling, climate regulation, and lots of other things. So the main question is, can we design and restore urban and ecosystems with explicit considerations for the microbiome to enhance both human health and ecosystem functionality? And so we came up with this concept called Microbiome-Inspired Green Infrastructure, and our first stab at kind of overlaying microbial ecology considerations onto a landscape architecture plan of works was published in Trends in Biotechnology. As I said, so we took this REBA plan of works, which has these concepts from preparation and brief to conceptual design and then through to construction. So it's this plan of works for a landscape architectural project. And then we overlaid considerations from microbial ecology onto each stage. And we can see here from some of these diagrams that these are some of the things we can do now to urban environments to promote this healthier urban microbiome. So you can see that things like there are core considerations for the soil health, and diversity is really important. So things like species richness and diversity, structural diversity of vegetation, but also social engagement and diversity of sensors. And this is a more of a horizon scanning kind of diagram, so things like biointegrated architecture. And so this is integrating biology within the architectural skins of buildings, within the materials, so things like walls and roofs, etc. And this is a 3D printed cryptogam wall, so it's bioreceptive, so it's trying to encourage biocolonization from different organisms in the environment. And so I've worked on these different sets of parameters, so I'm developing a tool that can be used by urban developers, so things like promoting the composition and functional diversity of the urban microbiome, and things like integrating biointegrated architecture. And this is the kind of interface of the tool that I'm working on at the moment. And then I was invited to Norwegian University of Life Sciences to try and integrate some microbial ecology considerations within their landscape architecture modules. And so we started off at a really basic level, understanding what different microbes are to start with. And then we built up the complexity as time goes on. So things like we created Winogradsky columns, and then we explored the different examples of mutualistic symbiosis, did some culturing of microbes. And it's really impressive because just after a few weeks of this microbial ecology training, the students have now taken this knowledge and then they're applying it to their own projects, things like controlled trials of bioremediation and some wonderful designs as well. So it's quite impressive. Thanks for listening to my talk. Cheers.